Welcome to another AI Builder podcast slash CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Kelwin Fernandes with us. Kelwin is CEO at NILG.AI. It's creating ever improving businesses with AI. So, I guess we're going to talk about AI agents nowadays. We're going to talk scaling a business with AI. It's one of my favorite topic. This podcast is brought to you by podfire.com. If you want to start an AI podcast and have it run by AI agents, even the outreach is automated, you can go to podfire.com. We have a free ebook helping you start your AI podcast 2025. Kelwin, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you, Charles. So I'm Kelvin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of NILG.AI. I'm from Venezuela, but living now in Portugal. So we were talking before the podcast, and basically, what our vision at NILG.AI is becoming the standard of AI adoption. So everything we do is defining the good practices of how you embrace AI on organizations that mitigate risk, that ensure a positive ROI of any investment you do on AI, and that guarantee that you can scale up with AI. And the whole process is based on like design thinking frameworks. So let's just bring here some post-its here between merging, managing and technical teams and making sure we create AIs that bring value to the business. That's the full purpose of it.
Right. So you started that one 6 years ago, and I believe you're still a professor nowadays. Like, tell me about the business and how much time you put in that one vs teaching students.
Yeah. So most of what I do is related with NILG.AI. The professor part is more, let's say, part-time, like a few days every quarter or so. Most of what I do is around AI, both managing the projects that we have internally at NILG.AI, but as well as doing all the communication. So we heavily invest on communication, on podcasting, going to conferences, events. Actually, our YouTube channel reached 100K subscribers last year. It's all around AI strategy. So I will say I am like 120% at NILG.AI and then extra 5% at lecturing about AI at business schools, management schools, etc.
And why do you still teach? Why is that important for you?
Teaching means you learn twice, right? As well as podcasting. When we are here interacting and asking ourselves questions and thinking about what will be the ultimate answer I will give to this question, if it is going to be recorded on a video, I think we trigger a cognitive process that actually make us think through the process and through the problems. So it's more of a self-discovering process, as well as podcasting for me is a self-discovering process of how I think about these topics.
The services that you offer at NILG, so you have AI training, AI consulting, AI software development. Tell us a bit more about these, and also tell us if companies have been hiring you more since 2020, for example, when ChatGPT started picking up massive traction. Are we still too early? Is it still like an early adopter phase in which we're selling services to a few corporate early adopters, or are we like right in the hockey stick part of the curve?
Yeah, so our core value proposition is around the strategy products. So how we can craft strategies in a sense of defining a roadmap of what data you need, what processes you should use with AI, how to mitigate risks, etc. So it's all around the strategy, and then we do the development, and the training component is more of a lead magnet, starting a front-end product for corporates. So before Gen AI, before ChatGPT arrived, we only targeted large corporations because they were the only ones that had enough data to train custom models for themselves, right? Custom machine learning models, NLP models, computer vision models, etc. After we got, let's say, democratized AI via LLMs, via generative AI, we started approaching also SMEs, so small and medium enterprises, because now you don't even need to have your own data to leverage AI. Of course, if you have data, you could do more, but even an individual person can leverage AI nowadays with just a few data points about how they interact. So certainly, let's say, the volume of people working in AI has increased exponentially, right? Because if we consider that over 90% of the industry is composed by small, medium enterprises, then you move from 10% to the full 100% potential of businesses. But at the same time, I feel like companies are getting more of a transactional perspective when they embrace AI. So like 3-4 years ago, AI was more of a digital transformation process that it will take time, you need to iterate, it will be an iterative process. Nowadays, like companies and people are creating like a sense of AI being transactional, like something that is plug and play, which is true for some cases. But when you are using AI to truly optimize business processes, you need to constantly measure, validate, iterate, adjust, right? And then people are like, okay, so it's not plug and play. We can see the value, but it's like a, let's say, evangelization process. It's a training process, an educational process that we need to run nowadays, because the standard on the industry now, or the general perception on the industry, is like you just plug and play something, and that will automate all of your employees out of nowhere, right? So I will say we are on a point where we will scale, and we will keep scaling the usage of AI. It will take longer than the market think it will, at least on a general horizontal perspective. Actually, there's a super good book about it, which I recommend to everybody, which is this one, Power and Prediction. Okay. And it explains, based on past disruptive technologies such as electricity, such as the steam engine, etc., how is the typical process of disruption around new technologies. And it's a very good recommendation if you want to think about the next 20-50 years around AI.
Right. Tell me about use cases of ChatGPT operator, and also tell me about deep research, if you've tested it, if you have insights on that one. It's been deployed today or yesterday, so these are pretty powerful and game-changing deployments from OpenAI as of late.
They are, but I typically don't catch the latest model or the latest version, because the foundational changes that will bring us are more technical, right? But what I feel on any project, real life project we build, the main concern is not the technical implementation or the technical capability, but adoption. Like, how do I make sure people will embrace the AI prediction, the AI recommendation, and how much they will trust it, and how much we will align our accountability, liability, and, let's say, frustration or friction to change. Like, change management for me, it's like the key issue. For example, I haven't tried DeepSeek so far. Like, I know it will be marginally better, marginally cheaper, or whatever, but the pains I will get are not around the models, are more around managing teams that are embracing AI, managing expectations of those AI teams, and how we can ramp up adoption across the full organization. Of course, there are many use cases that these new technologies are embracing, that are giving us, especially moving from a very local, contained, non-actionable task, which is text generation, into tools that can interact with the world, that can reflect and reason and iterate on top of its knowledge, and look for external knowledge, whether it is image, video, etc. But those are more of the technical capabilities that I will get, which simply facilitates the technical execution. But the tricky part for me, it's always like the human nature, how you manage human expectations, and how you manage the problem of control around the manager that now owns the decisions to an AI that will start owning those micro decisions on a day-to-day basis.
Right. And what about deep research? We've used ChatGPT as a research assistant pretty much forever. It's a huge hack, right? When you have a top strategic assistant to help you on a daily basis, so that you start from the right place. You obviously need to prompt it well, feed it the right data. Operator hopefully will execute that, but I think what they've deployed as of late is even deeper. It's a research assistant that will fetch the web and the latest and most important or high authority article on the topic there, and merge all that data together, which arguably is better than a big four report that should pay at least $250,000 for. I think that's pretty game changing.
Yeah, you know something I have experience with this research assistant, let's call them, is that they are a human leveler. Okay. So for example, on my team, if I take the most proficient programmer versus the not so much efficient programmer or an average programmer, the one that use, and I put them both using AI, they will reach the same performance level. Okay. Because AI will level them up. The top performing won't grow that much, but all the rest will easily reach the level of the top performing person on programming. And then we can talk about the same thing around other tasks. For example, legal issues. Nowadays, of course, I then consult my lawyer, but even before questioning my lawyer, which will give me like a blind response that I don't truly understand, I pass my contrast to research assistants, like, tell me what's wrong here, what is the current framework, what is the current regulatory framework, what should we do, etc. So I believe this research assistant, the main advantage they have is that they make you capable of doing general tasks that otherwise will require consultants and will slow you down maybe for weeks, just outsourcing these tasks. Maybe now, let's say you don't have a legally binding answer around the analysis you did, etc., or maybe you won't even trust the analysis. But the fact that you can get it in an hour, I'm saying an hour, already stretching the time, and you can go back and forth with it until you get a good sense of what you need. And then, yes, you maybe take it to a human expert, but you already validated and clear out of the table dozens of tasks that otherwise you will just need to either ignore them because you don't know how to qualify them, or to ask a consultant that, of course, will take you thousands of dollars just to validate the idea.
Right. What's your take on the latest DeepSeek debacle? Mine is that's pretty much bullshit. I mean, it's cool that it built like they apparently, right, like Chinese people, generally speaking, not the fully transparent type of human beings, right? Like with all the propaganda and stuff like that. But the rest pretty much bullshit. Like it's like if people forgot about all the benefits of ChatGPT, and which tells me that people don't use ChatGPT a lot, like the calls, right? The fact that it remembers everything.
Yeah.
And it seems like people were really over hyping DeepSeek, and the NVIDIA stock was also total bullshit. So anyway, what's your take on what happened there?
I don't like in general Chinese stuff because I live in a communist country for a few decades, right? So I'm very scared of any central government intervention. So I live in Venezuela, right? I think the DeepSeek thing, beyond whether or not these models are comparable or not, which one is better, and the price point, solved, or at least gave us a light in the end of the tunnel of something, which is, if we want to achieve higher quality models, higher out, like AGI, for example. I don't believe I don't know if we will get to AGI or not, but there is a pressing question, which is whether or not we have the amount of energy that we need to feed these models, right? So if we are capable, and energy, by energy I mean energy resources to train, data to train, resources to deploy. And we were getting to a plateau point, right, where in terms of marginal increments on performance versus energy and data that we consume on these models, right? So if you go from GPT-3 to GPT-4, the models got way larger, right, and consume much more energy. And the fact that you can train these models at a fraction of the cost, whether or not those models are as good or not as ChatGPT or are transformational or not, is a good sign. And for me, it's even a good sign for OpenAI and for NVIDIA and all of this, because at some point, you will need to scale up beyond the current capabilities. And yes, of course, there was a correction on the NVIDIA stock, because I also believe that NVIDIA grew this fast because of an inefficiency on the market, on the supply side of the hardware. And I believe we will face other inefficiencies in the market on the data component. So which companies will have the best data? And I believe Google is the best position here to truly keep moving forward, because they own the data from YouTube, they are scraping the whole internet, Google Maps, etc., as well as Meta. Meta is kind of well positioned there because of all the social media interactions. But if you think about it, OpenAI doesn't own the sources of data, which is the most crucial asset for AI, right? So OpenAI doesn't have a very strong moat there. They had a technological advance, but I don't know how well protected they are on that line. NVIDIA so far is well, in my opinion, is well protected. Even if we end up needing way less GPUs than we consider, that's okay, because the demand is still growing. So yes, you need less GPUs, but demand is growing 10x. Demand for AI is growing 10x every year. So okay, I need less GPUs in the future, but I will still need more than I need now. I believe US will keep dominating the market in terms of innovation. So the best model will still be designed in the US. China will be good at replicating and scaling up things as they have traditionally done. That's my perception, and that's a safe prediction because it's what has happened in other industry. We don't know if it will be the same here or not.
Yeah, maybe serving cheaper markets like the Amazon vs Temu analogy, right? Temu is like so cheap, but it takes longer, right? So it's for a different class of individuals, different market altogether. I think personally, the conspiracy theory aside, I just think that US loves building on an AI arms race with China, than our communist country, right? Like historically, innovation in the US has stemmed from a fear that this competitor will catch up, right? So I think a lot of people are using that as juice to deploy more. We've seen Sam Altman go in ludicrous mode a couple of days after and deploy make 5 deployments in 5 days. So yeah, it was funny to see the DeepSeek founder talk shit on Twitter. Like, good luck with who do you think you are? Like Sam Altman will destroy you in a couple of days. You're nothing. Sam Altman, I do think that he's the best founder of our time. He's really hard to out execute, even with everything that OpenAI has gone through. Now, I have a very practical questions for you, since you're a professor and you deal with students almost on a daily basis. If you'd be a student, or let's say that you're a student, you're 20 years old, you want to start a business, hopefully with AI, right? I hope that would be in your answer. How should you actually start that business in 2025 now?
Okay. There is this saying that first-time founders focus on product, right? And building the best product and making sure their product is super neat. Second-time founders focus on distribution, okay? And that's valid today. That's valid in 20 years. That was valid 20 years ago. So distribution is key. Why? Because you must have a good basis to validate your hypothesis. Okay, and if you only have a handful of customers, you are getting biased by small numbers, right? So if you validate an idea and you are only validating in 5 people, in 5 persons, then how valid is that approach? So I will focus on distribution still, and of course I will gain distribution using AI, right? Automating outreach campaigns. So, and also, everything I will try to automate it with AI, but the basis, the foundations haven't changed. So focus on distribution. Adding on top of this, there is a saying that third-time founders focus on their ecosystem. So leverage your ecosystem. So not just outside, like outreach, distribution, etc., but also leverage your peers, the knowledge of your network, so you can build a solid business around it. So connect the dots more than building from scratch. Hi, Charles. I lost you. I'm not sure if it was on your end or on my end. Can you hear me? Hey, Charles. Hey, can you hear me there?
My internet just dropped. Sorry about that. What were you saying? Kelvin, are you there?
Hi. I don't know if I lost connection or if you did. I just switched network. I think I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, I also took my 5G. So what were you saying? At the we were at like the ecosystem, right? And after that,
Yeah. So don't focus on the product. Don't give a fuck about the product, because if you are sure your product is solving the right problem, then you are kind of good. Focus on putting that product in the hands of as many people as possible, and don't try to build everything from scratch. Leverage your ecosystem, the ecosystem around your peers, your surrounding companies, potential providers, to allow you to move fast and to avoid errors, to avoid mistakes as fast as possible.
what would you change in the educational system? Because arguably, I mean, you're at university level, the education's quite good there, but primary school and secondary school, most of the time, it's total BS. What would you change to teach kids about entrepreneurship and AI very early in life? I'm starting my CEO uni, it's called.com, and this business will be about teaching kids all of these skills and to have them launch their businesses as soon as possible so that they aren't shocked by this AI dominated market.
I have a 4-year-old. He turned 4 last Friday, and a 10 months old. So this is a question that I ask myself every day. Like, what skills should I be teaching them such that they are relevant in the market 20, 30 years from now, right? And in times of disruption, I actually talk about that in one of my podcast episodes a few months ago. We came to the conclusion that in times of disruption, you should stay a generalist instead of a specialist on a specific area. For example, I don't know, but for example, doctors are at risk of being replaced, right? At a higher risk than nurses, right? Because doctors are over specialized on decision-making diagnosis, and nurses are more specialized on a horizontal skill set, which is providing care, right? Same thing for any career. So if you stay a generalist in a way that more than knowing a specific niche, you are capable of connecting the dots, then you are well positioned. And I believe we should instill that in kids. So how can we enable them to explore, ask the right questions, and use the answers they get as feedback to build on top of that? So I will change the educational system by a system that prompts kids to answer questions, to a system where they should ask the right questions. And exams shouldn't be about answering, it should be about asking, you know.
Last but not least, how did you scale your YouTube channel and what's your thesis on podcast?
Yeah, a lot of consistency, going, publishing every week, no excuses. A bit of advertising, but the budget was very limited, and we use AI to validate our scripts. So I write the scripts myself because I like producing my own content, but then I pass them through a prompt where I ask if you are a business manager with this, within my ICP, within my ideal customer profile, what would you think of this content? Okay, and then I iterate on top of that. I improve the content, and that is how we improve the content on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you, Kelwin. Where can we find out more about you?
Yeah, you can go to our YouTube channel, NILG.AI, so NILG.AI, AI strategy for businesses. You can go to our website, NILG.AI, social media. I am on Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. Just search my name, Kelvin, with a K and a W. There are not many like that, so you will find me very easily.